It says it's going live.
And we're doing it live.
Doing it live. Advanced audio share and hitting it.
Welcome to Earl and the Idiot, the show that gives you the answers you need to take your business to the next level. With Earl Flormata, one of Vancouver's most sought-after business and marketing consultants, author of Business Engine Optimization, consultant to over 60 successful businesses, an all-around evil marketing genius with a combined total of more than $70 million worth of sales to his credit. And some idiot. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Some idiot. Remember my idea for a fidget toy where it's like a spring?
The slinky, the virgin slinky remover, right? And
yeah, exactly. It'd have to be like a kind of Velcro, so you can restick it and take it apart each time.
There you go. And then you have a whole ASMR channel based on the Velcro peeling of the.
Yeah, just get right up close to the microphone and just peel the.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So.
All right. Hi, Earl.
I like the background.
Yes, yeah, that's gonna be my new thing after that Star Trek one. It's my new idea is to match my background to the topic of the day. So
there you
we
go.
have my man Scrooge McDuck leaping into a giant pile of money over here.
Didn't some guy actually try to debunk that, and like he filled a bunch of money in a pool and then jumped in it and hurt himself or something? I can't remember, but
someone needed to debunk that. I didn't need to debunk that. I could have told you can't do it. It's a cartoon. He's also a duck that talks and has money.
Right.
That didn't bother him. Did he debunk that? Did he go up to a bunch of ducks and be like, just talk to like 5,000 ducks to disprove it?
Back in the day, my brother actually went up when he was a baby and walked up to basically a just giant flock of ducks. Anyway, he actually just blurted out and just asked them, which one's Daffy Duck? And like one duck went, and then which one's Donald Duck? And they all just went ballistic and went nuts. He's like, oh, they all like Donald. And ever since then, he's like, oh, they like Donald. Donald's the more fun one. And
survey complete.
Survey complete. I didn't think that the ducks would answer him, but they did. And then in traditional fashion, after that, my son, when he was a baby, he went up and somehow convinced, I swear to you, probably 300 or 400 of these ducks in the park to just follow him. And because he was feeding them, and he just went right up close to them, and then he started sprinkling and then walking, and then I have this. I gotta find this video now. There's a basic army of ducks following my son, who's like a toddler, wandering through the park, and I'm like, what did you do? How are they following you? Why are they following you? And he marched them on this little merry way for a while. So I'm like, oh, impressive. So very skillful. So our family has some weird Pied Piper thing with ducks.
Right. You're secretly Scrooge McDuck. That's why.
Oh, and since he doesn't watch the show because he's too young, he's in high school now. He doesn't watch the show. He doesn't understand that ducks are delicious. So whenever we take him for duck, we don't tell him it's duck because he loves ducks. So we just tell him it's fancy chicken. And to this date, he still doesn't know. My daughter, though, she was smarter and she figured it out. So she's like, wow, hey, like this isn't chicken. What is it?
How old's your son now?
14.
Oh, all right.
So
is he gonna be mad at you?
Oh, absolutely. So when he watches the show one day,
oh no, yeah.
So, oh, by the way, those Chinese tacos, not really Chinese taco. That's actually duck. That's not chicken. It's duck.
No.
Now you know.
Just invite me over before you tell him. Okay, I got to see that. or live stream it. We'll put it on the podcast. Just go get him right now.
Thankfully, he's in school. So, so one, he's not watching. This being live. Two, he doesn't follow me on that, and so he's not going to find this video. So there you go.
All right. Phew. So, other than ducks, how's your week going?
Interesting for sure. It's been a weird week of niche markets. Somebody asked me literally today to help them run marketing for a sex toy company.
Oh yeah.
And of all things, this is the one that makes them stand out. They produce this stuff called butt tape. and it helps
Beg pardon?
keep it open. And I'm like, that's a very niche product. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, that's
There's a real solid niche joke in there, but I'm not going to make it.
So yeah, when people ask me, hey, have you done this this topic or this niche market? And so yeah, like my buddy Bosco from Australia, he's from Australia now. He came from here, but he's from Australia now. Said that I think you've done like over 200 niche markets in 6, 7, 8, 9 figure space. I'm like, there's no way. So we started listing stuff, and I got scared after 217. I'm like, and now today we got to add number 218, butt tape of all things.
Butt tape.
So didn't know that was a thing. A buddy of mine, as a joke.
Well, I guess that's why it's a niche, right? If everyone knew about it.
Oh yeah, I guess. But as a complete, just an aside, a complete and utter joke, my buddy asked me, "Hey, you think they make CBD infused lube?" And
I'm sure they do.
As a straight joke, I asked one of my clients who has CBD stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let me get that for you." And they sent me the link to it. And I'm like, dude, I was kidding. Like, this is real?
No, I never thought about it before, but I would have definitely put very good money on it existing. That would not surprise me at least.
I bet against it. I thought that, no, this can't be a thing. And they're like, oh yeah, it's on page 300 and whatever on our site. I'm like, oh, like I was expecting them to laugh, not, oh, by the way, here it is.
Yeah, right here.
So my other friend bought 2, and I'm like, did that just happen? Like, this is okay. All right, fair enough. So I run SEO for this site. I didn't know they had that. And I'm like, okay. So I'm not gonna look at every e-commerce company's like 7,000 SKU list of stuff that they sell, right?
Yeah. We're gonna have to blur this episode out and tag it NSFW?
Well, somebody asked, like, hey, how many niches have you done? Lots.
Lots. All of them.
Lots. All of them.
It's rule 35 on the internet. If it exists, Earl's marketed it
on the internet. Yeah. I still can't believe memory foam dog beds are a thing. I'm like, oh my God.
I like the giant dog beds, the people-sized dog beds. Those are good.
Those are hilarious. That's trending on Instagram right now for some crazy reason. So big human-sized dog beds of all things. So there's our most interesting intro ever. Scrooge McDuck leading to butt tape. So
yeah, have we finally beat blueberry poop as our most interesting topic of conversation?
I don't know.
I think maybe. Maybe.
That was the weirdest thing we talked about until now, I think. Mm-hmm. So we'll see it in the comments, because unfortunately the tool that we use doesn't have like a command center for us to see the comments live. So when people are asking stuff, they're like, hey, do you answer comments? I'm like, yeah, but afterwards, because I can't actually see them until I pull it up. So there you go.
Oh, jeez. So in moving right along, in other good news, the boat's back.
Yeah, you saw that, hey? The boat's back.
Yeah, I got my tickets, baby.
Oh, nice. I was going to say we already sold like 30 tickets. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you're one of them. So
yeah, I'm 2 of them.
There you go. You're 2 of them. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're aiming for 150, 200 because it's in June, and it'll be all pretty outside and nice and hot. Yeah. And there you go. So
that is exciting news. All right, let's dive right into it. I love saying that. I always crack up now whenever I'm listening to another podcast and they say it. So
magic. It's the magic word. Every time that happens, someone has to take a shot, right, or a drink, right? There you go.
Yeah, exactly. That's the podcast drinking game. That's funny, actually. I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna just check with ChatGPT while we're doing other stuff here. What things would be on a podcast drinking game? See if it has an answer for that.
Because that's
meanwhile,
what's artificial intelligence for? It's to appease the ADD and make it happen.
Yeah, it kind of is, right?
Scratch that ADHD itch. Go for it.
So, yeah, I can't think and type at the same time. You talk amongst yourself.
All right, sounds good. Well, I can give the prompt that we gave.
Yeah, what did you?
And the prompt that we gave for this week is: there's an upcoming recession, right? If it's not already here, because they changed the definition of a recession. List 3 to 5 ways a business could save money to stay afloat and survive until the market turns around. And the hilarious thing is, you do realize half the time that we come up with this stuff like before, like the day of, we literally type this into ChatGPT before I hit record and then went go. So this is as raw as it gets. Yeah. So right to the source. Here we go.
All right. So let's see. Here's some things that are on the totally unrelated. Some things that will be on the podcast listening drinking game. Advertisers or sponsor mentions. Yeah, of course.
That's good.
Interrupting or talking over each other. Oh, there's one right now.
There you go. You gotta drink double for NordVPN or for Raid
NordVPN.
So NordVPN and Raid Satellite, you have to drink twice.
Yeah, there you go. In-depth discussions, technical difficulties. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
If a host reads out a mention or listener comment, see, we need to get that going. And then, of course, this one: tangents or off-topic discussions. People
we would win
wasted
that.
listening. Yeah,
I think we would.
You'd not survive playing that game with us.
Between blueberry poop and butt tape, you'd be drunk. So there you go.
All right. So here we are. So you've already read the thing. So yeah, let's, before we get into this, prognosticate a little bit. You say we're heading into recession. It's already here. I remember like last year sometime they said, well, it's technically this is a recession right now because recession is defined this way. And rather than admit that we're in a recession, they changed the definition of recession. Did you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why.
Thanks, guys.
That's why.
Great work, everyone.
So it's almost akin to standing in your garden and believing if you say there are no weeds enough, that the weeds will magically disappear. Right.
Actually, you know what? That's a shockingly good analogy, because the definition of a weed is just a plant in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Right. There's lots of weeds that in other circumstances are desirable.
Yes.
You know, like if you were trying to make dandelion wine, well, you'd want the most possible dandelions, right? So literally, someone says, "Oh, go weed the garden." Be like, "Okay, I define all of these as plants that I want, and you've taken all the weeds out of the garden. There isn't one left anymore."
Same with the recession. If you just change the definition, poof, voila, just like that. Economic good times, we're fine.
Brilliant. So, but you think we're that's either where we are or where we're headed? I'm not smart enough with this economic stuff.
I was going to say we're all.
I'm an idiot after all.
We there you go, by trade. But well, you didn't change your name this time, which is
no, yeah.
There you go.
I'm gonna get a shirt. I'm gonna make a shirt that says "Idiot by Trade."
There you go. Or I instead of "I'm with stupid," I'm with idiot. There you go.
I are idiot. Okay, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Take a drink. Take a shot for an interruption.
Well,
off topic.
Like they said, like a recession is 2 quarters back to back of negative growth or stagnant or stagnation, right? It's just like, okay, well that's the way it is. That's the definition. So we are in one, right? If you look at it, depending on how you measure it. And the problem is that when you can change the measuring stick, then you can redefine whether a dandelion is good for weeds or good for dandelion land, right? So it's the same same thing. If you change the goalposts, which they just arbitrarily do, then it either is or it isn't. But which rule set are you following, right? So, and you change the rules enough time, no one wants to play the game anymore because everyone goes, you changed the rules 7 times. This isn't fair anymore, right? So
yeah, especially when it always changes in one direction.
Then someone goes home. So,
but do you think the situation is going to get worse?
Because of the way things are happening, I mean, everyone's watching how the banks are doing, right?
Yeah.
There was almost that we were making fun of podcast bingo card. There was a bank bingo card where they were just kidding. I think they were just kidding, and they put a bunch of banks up. And this is after the first bank fell, and a lot of the ones that were on the fun, just joking bank bingo card already went belly up. And I'm like, yo, this was supposed to be a joke, right? Not actually do it. So yeah, we're definitely in a downward trending movement, but there are pros and cons to upwards and downwards trending movement. As an old school Forex trader, so I used to trade Forex, used to trade options and whatnot. And when you're looking at an analysis of the market, right, the only time that you should be scared as a trader is when there's nothing happening. Right? So if there's a clear up, fantastic. If there's a clear down, fantastic. Then you know what to do. If it's just
Right.
waffling side to side and not really picking a direction, that's when you get destroyed. So, so I lost my first trading account in a waffle, and nothing happened.
Oh,
I'm putting positions in, I kept on getting decimated. And then
hmm.
that's when I realized, yeah, don't there's three options: buy, sell, and do nothing, right? And the do nothing one is the more difficult one to execute. So
Yeah, I definitely don't understand that. I just buy stocks of companies I find interesting and just try to never sell them if possible.
well, there you go. So
That's my total strategy. There you go. You heard it here first. The Idiot's Guide to Trading. All right.
you
So what we're
want,
talking about is
yeah.
what's that?
I was gonna say they want the simpler version of that. Mr. Miyagi says best block, not be there. So there.
Yeah, all right. So we were talking about saving money in recession. How to what is it? Save money to stay afloat and survive until the market turns around.
Mhm.
So what is ChatGPT telling us to do? It says to evaluate and streamline operations. Take a close look at your business processes and identify areas where you can streamline operations. Look for inefficiencies and eliminate or optimize them. Optimize inefficiencies. Seems like a weird way to say it. This may involve reducing unnecessary steps, automating certain tasks, or reorganizing workflows to enhance productivity and reduce costs. I noticed it doesn't say in there firing people, although probably that's what most people think of when they think of streamlining operations is laying off employees.
It doesn't necessarily mean laying off employees, although it should be included in that piece where there's redundancies and there's too many folks.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, one of the first things that you do when you do, like, for example, a merger and acquisition, when you buy out another company, you don't
Mhm.
need two CFOs, right? You just need
Right.
one. Right? No, that's why the title is chief. Right? There's usually one chief. If there's 17 chiefs, it's really hard to decide what direction you're supposed to go. Right.
Yeah. Well, where would the Catholic Church be without the popes?
There you go. Popes, plural.
Popes. Yeah.
This pope says go left. Uh-oh. So yeah, so streamlining operations, evaluate and streamline operations. I would agree with artificial intelligence in this one. Like, figure out what the processes are and then cut down to minimum viable product that keeps everybody happy. There's companies who are doing cuts, so not necessarily complete layoffs, where they're cutting people down from full-time to part-time as an example, so everyone gets to keep their job, right? So I've seen that work really well too. So people are cutting down as much as possible without losing any members on the ship, and then everybody kind of hangs in there together. And then when everything springs back up again, the idea is they'll get back to either full time or full salaried, whatever. So there you go. So
but this is about looking for inefficiencies and eliminate or optimize them, reducing unnecessary steps, automating certain tasks. I'm guessing that probably none of these are things you wouldn't want to do anyway, regardless of it being a recession. You just might get lazy when the money's flowing in.
Well, yeah, that's just it though, right? There's companies out there that are in a good time, they don't do these things. So because in a good time, they're trying to double down on making more, right? But like the origination of our conversation and the whole ideation behind this ChatGPT prompt was, when you make $1, and this came from you, right? You were saying when you make $1, it's
you said this.
You don't make $1, right? You make a percentage of $1 because it's just overhead and staff and expenses and cost of goods. But when you save $1, you save a whole dollar, right? So saving money. The problem is that people don't look at saving money as the way to grow the business per se. But you need both sides of the equation, right? You need both sides of the equation. You need to make more money, but you need to save more money, right? Because it doesn't matter how much you make; it's how much you keep, right? That's just that wonderful little quote, revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family, right? So
right. Yeah, it's kind of like you said it, and it took me a minute as an idiot to try and parse it out a little bit, but that the old saying is that a penny, it used to be a penny, kids these days probably don't know what a penny is, a penny saved is a penny earned, but it's actually not true because it's actually better than a penny earned.
It's absolutely better.
Because it's the entire penny when you save it, but when you make it, you have to spend some of it. You don't keep that entire penny. You have to snip it with a pair of pliers.
There were such things as half pennies back in the day, right? So there you go.
Yeah. So, Number 2, implement cost-cutting measures. Identify non-essential expenses and find ways to identify non-essential expenses and find ways to reduce or eliminate them. Again, this could include renegotiating. This is your favorite. Renegotiating contracts with vendors or suppliers to secure better terms. Implementing energy-saving initiatives to lower utility costs, or cutting back on non-essential services or subscriptions. This is probably one I most wanted to get to because you love doing this.
So here's my confession. There's a technique that we called the digital gangster, and we took over the top 10 positions for, I won't say which niche because I'm just out the people that were in it, but we took over the top 10 positions for a very difficult niche market on the internet. All of them. We didn't just get the first position on Google, we took all of them. And what we did was we emailed all of the players in the market and CC'd everybody else and said, the bidding starts at $5,000. Whoever wants this gets it. I'm only selling it to one player. The rest of you get to watch this guy win. And so it was kind of hilarious. The bidding came in fast and furious, and we made a lot of money doing that game. But the funny thing is, you can do the same thing with your vendors. So it just depends on how much of a dick you are. You can call up, 3 of the biggest vendors and let them duke it out to see who gives you the best quote. So it just depends on, obviously, if you feel, sadistic, you can make them fight, but, because we'll fight to the death for it.
If you want to be real sadistic, just bring them all to your office at the same time.
Yeah, I'll meet you on Friday at 10. Okay. Yeah, Friday at 10. Okay. Friday at 10. Okay.
Yeah. Great. It's like that scene in Batman where the Joker breaks the pool cue and tells them we've only got room for one in our organization. We'll let you guys figure it out.
Exactly. There you go. So what was it? There's a funny ass meme that says, when I die, I'm just gonna put tasers at my funeral, and whoever wins gets all my stuff. That's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so cost cutting measures. So cost cutting measures. So it goes hand in hand with the streamlining operations, right? So streamlining operations is one thing, cost cutting is another, right? So like I said, I know I've talked about this in previous shows. We had one client that has multiple offices, but they were ordering supplies for each office as if they were a singular office. We just batched everything together, made one giant order, and saved like tens of thousands of dollars for that one client just by doing that.
Oh my God.
Right? It was tens of thousands of dollars, literally tens of. I found my entire fee for the whole year. We found it in I think it was 2 or 3 weeks of doing this, just by batching all the crap together. And we went extra cheap, and we timed it so the purchase order happened around the Black Friday sales. So not only did we batch everything together, we got the crazy Black Friday discount. And because the nature of this business, the shelf life of the materials is 1.5 to 2 years. And so what they did was they ordered a year's worth of stuff in one big go, in one big volume push, because it's small. Like the footprint of the inventory is tiny. So they had sufficient storage space without expanding anything. And they literally saved, I think it was almost double my entire fee for the year. So that was the first thing we did. And they're like, okay, cool. Now you paid for me for the rest of the year and then some. What do you want to do next? So there's a good.
Now you got lots of time.
So AI is absolutely right.
Yeah. Now you always talk about this thing that's kind of like it's super unsexy, but it's a great move, which is to literally just sit down and look at your credit card statement.
That is absolutely, one of the things to do, just line by line. That's what we did for 3 weeks, line by line, for 3 months of credit card statements. Hey, when was the last time you read this magazine? There's a big stack of them on the front desk. I see that, but when was the last time you actually read it? Oh, I never read them. Do your clients read them? No, they just kind of leaf through it while they're waiting, but no one ever actually reads this crap. Would anybody miss it if they were all gone? We're like, we don't know. So we took all the magazines off of the front desk. Nobody complained. Nobody asked for months. And then they're like, yeah, I guess nobody cares. So we just cancel the subscription. So when nobody cares and nobody's reading this, nobody getting any value out of it, then stop.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff you can find. Subscriptions you forgot you subscribed to. I know you've got some in the dark corners of your credit card statement.
Oh my gosh.
You subscribe to everything.
Every 6 months I check it again just to be sure. And then if I haven't touched this thing, or my VAs haven't touched this thing in months, then it's like, okay, time to cancel that one. We stopped using that. So there you go. And Chat GPT, who we use, thank you AI overlords, for this show, has replaced a whole bunch of them.
A whole bunch of what? Replaced a whole bunch of what?
A whole bunch of tools that we used.
Oh yeah, you bet.
Right. Sometimes
sure,
you just ask ChatGPT a question. It's like, oh my God, it answered the question. Like, why do we use this tool again? Like this other tool? Like, I just paid ChatGPT the $20 that they asked for, and it replaced like 10 tools. So I think for the whopping cost of $20 that ChatGPT costs us, I save probably around, I want to say $350. So there you go.
I don't feel great for those other companies, but
they were made redundant by something that does the job better, right? So
you can't stop progress.
Can't stop progress. The guy who thought the train was the end all be all everything to everyone, the trucks came out and roads were cheaper to lay than rails, and we're like, yeah, no one's going to buy a truck. And look where we are now. Right? So there we go.
All right. Oh, here's firing people. It's further down the list. Workforce optimization. This sounds wonderfully euphemistic, doesn't it? Review your workforce structure and determine if there are opportunities for optimization. You love it. This might involve cross-training employees to handle multiple roles, redistributing workload to maximize efficiency, or implementing temporary measures such as reduced work hours or unpaid leave to avoid layoffs. Additionally, consider hiring freelancers or contractors for specific projects instead of maintaining a full-time workforce. This is hard-nosed stuff.
Definitely, but there's pros and cons to both sides of the equation. Workforce optimization is kind of the last thing I typically look at, because we hire slow, right? We hire slowly on purpose. So because we're streamlining the operational stuff, because we're cutting costs, because we're doing all these things, by the time it comes around to hiring somebody, it's because our staff is like, oh my gosh, we got too much, right? So we look at their schedules, and when we go over, I believe it's like 85% utilization, because nobody works at 100, right? So people are sick, they get days off, the internet explodes, their house burns down. I had one guy's house burned down during a flood, which is unfortunate. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen. Like, it is literally a picture of a house on fire and water all around it. I'm like, how does that happen? He's like, electrical.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, his hard drive melted, so we didn't get the data off of it before it died. But he's still a good worker, so I believe he still works with that team today. But yeah. So yeah, unpaid leave, to avoid layoffs, et cetera. The problem with this thing where it says additionally consider hiring freelancers or contractors, right? What's going to happen is typically dependent on your space, the freelancers or contractors might be more expensive than salaried staff, right? So that might not always be the right way to go. Maybe you want to keep your staff members, like I said, like it says, reduce their work hours, reduce their responsibility and structure, and kind of go from there. Or I like where it says cross-train to handle multiple roles. That way, when you do cut everybody's hours, everybody gets a fair stab at different stuff. And so they have a chance to be able to learn different things and advance themselves. So when the question was to stay afloat and survive until the market turns around, right? It's important to train your people, right? Because what was it? There was a really funny quote around that. Like, why bother training the people? What happens if they leave, right? And then the counter to is you want to train the people because what happens if they stay? Right?
Yeah, so you don't want untrained people floating around.
There you go. So cross training is a brilliant idea. Love it.
So you think you gotta lean on your workers a little more, like share the difficulties of the economic situation, or should you try to shield them?
I share it, right? So when lean times come around, because it happened to us a couple of times when we lost some larger contracts, I shielded them from it to a certain extent, but everybody suffers together, right? Like that. There's bit of that bonding experience when everybody takes a bit of a hit together and then hold steady, right? So
Yeah.
obviously I took a pay cut because as the boss, I'm the first one to get the pay cut. But then everyone else
Not
took a
everyone thinks
small
like that.
but yeah, not everyone thinks like that. But then I'm of the servant leader modality where the leader isn't necessarily the king of the castle and everything, like, and you just lick his boots. No, like I'll help, right? So in times of emergency and this and that, I will roll up my sleeves and do the work too. I don't care. There's nothing that I'm above doing. The last contract that blew up, I ended up helping some of the team do data entry, right? And it's just like, this is the lowest task on the totem pole, but it needs to get done. Guess what? I'll help too, right? So
yeah, I guess it's fair if you share the good times with your employees, then it's only right to share the bad times too. But if you're just squeezing it all for yourself during the good times, and then try to spread the misery around when it happens.
This is where I don't agree with Scrooge McDuck.
Yes, although his line was always work smarter, not harder, and that makes me think of Earl now.
But he also had that, what was it, the lucky dime or whatever. So there you go.
Yes, which obviously was the source of all his wealth. That's my problem. I've long since lost the first dime I made. Spent it on X-Men trading cards or something, probably.
I bought junk food. I can guarantee I bought junk food.
You promise.
So.
Actually, yeah, probably the first time I ever made, I would have spent buying sour cola bottle candies. That's probably the age I was.
This is where we have the whole. I remember back in the day. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, hang on, I got to take my digression shot.
This ages us immediately. But I remember when chocolate bars were like 25 cents when they were on sale.
25 cents, yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure my first dime went to a Mr. Big chocolate bar when it was on sale for 25 cents. So there you go.
There you go. All right, now you like this one. Focus on marketing and customer retention. So this one's a good one because it's more proactive. It's less kind of a turtle pulling in its little flippers and more like you're reaching out there. Instead of cutting your marketing budget entirely, as a professional marketer, of course, I really want people to spend more on marketing in these tough times.
So you also
focus. Yes, exactly. Focus on more cost-effective marketing campaigns. Emphasize digital marketing channels. Yes, great idea, ChatGPT. Such as social media and email campaigns, which tend to have a higher return on investment compared to traditional advertising. Additionally, prioritize customer retention efforts to maintain existing customer relationships and encourage repeat business as it is typically more cost-effective to retain customers than acquire new ones. Earl, go.
100% and then some. So during times like a recession type thing, so let's take a look at the previous pandemic, right? People bailed hard out of Facebook ads, Insta ads, and everything else. And then what happened was the average cost per click also plummeted to like nothing. And so the smart marketers stuck around. And what they did was they didn't change the marketing budget. They just adopted it and changed it and kept, so they kept the budget the same, but because everything just basically went on sale, they just went on a rampant market buying spree, ate their competitors alive, right? And so it's reposition based on whatever the circumstance is, right? So if it's a recession, there will be fewer luxury goods sold because the middle class won't be able to afford the luxury stuff. The rich will still buy and produce and consume whatever, but the middle class
right here. He's not giving up anything.
No, exactly. After he swims, unphysics like through his pile of money. But like the middle class will stop buying the extravagant stuff, and the poor will stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. They'll be like, nope, we got to survive and hold through this, right? So in your market acquisition tactics, look at, because there's ways to market during the good times, and there's completely different ways to market during the bad times, right? So look at your current marketing strategies and just adjust accordingly, right? So as an example, right, like we have ads that are going out there talking about saving money during a recession versus hell bent on growing your business, right? And in times like this, the being more efficient in your business ads end up working better than take over the world, right? Ads, right? And during the good times, the take over the world ads are the ones that everybody wants to go for, and no one cares about the saving ones, right? So going back to the previous steps, no one pays attention to step 1 or step 2 when everything is going great, right?
Right.
So, but it's good to have that consistency, right? That consistency push across all things. And like this said, digital marketing is great, but the funny thing is, like, old school joint venture marketing is also great, especially during times of recession, because then people huddle together and they want to support each other, right? So where the AI
Don't
misses
get
out, so
don't get ahead of us. It's on the next point.
so there. Oh, I guess that is we totally didn't read this before we started.
You're right. Yeah. What a world we
There
live
you
in.
go.
Oh my God. It's crazy that this technological advance happened during the course of like the few months we've been doing this show, eh? This
Well,
wasn't
it's
an option when
creepy.
we started the show.
Yeah, it's creepy because, like, this is the thought process I would have gone through. Like, this is exactly the order by which we do most of our stuff. And
Yeah.
it's not like we fed ChatGPT, hey, by the way, here's our software, here's how we calculate things, and here's how we do things. We just got smarter, right? So it's kind of scary. And you said I'm skipping ahead here. I honestly didn't read the next passage. So you're like, hey, wait a second. I'm like, oh. And then I look at the next passage and I'm like, oh, damn it.
There it is.
So soon the AIs can be me.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that's, like, I guess the the level of competition, the difficulty, the headwind or whatever gets harder. But if you can stick it out and you're the only one left standing,
well, you've ever watched
you've got the market. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. They're the only
right,
idiots
so
who survived the hurricane, right?
Or for those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and somebody might be too young to remember Forrest Gump, or maybe too old and forgot it. He was on a shrimping boat, right? And a hurricane hit and destroyed all the other boats in the harbor. But because he was in the storm and survived the storm, he was the only shrimping boat that survived unscathed, and then became rich because there were no other competition, and he got all the shrimp. And there you go.
So get all the shrimp. That's the menu. That's the message of this. Survive the hurricane, get all the shrimp. Doesn't his buddy climbs to the top of the mast and just shouts at the hurricane, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There you go. That's the right attitude. Lieutenant Dan. Yeah, that's fun. All right. So this last one, which you've already given away, you've already ruined the show. Thanks a lot.
My apologies.
Seek strategic partnerships and collaborations. Now it's interesting. Like, I wouldn't necessarily think you think it'd be sort of dog eat dog, every man for himself, but you're saying people pull together. And ChatGPT says, explore opportunities for strategic partnerships or collaborations with other businesses in your industry. Pooling resources and sharing costs can help reduce individual financial burdens. Consider joint marketing initiatives, shared office spaces.
There we go.
Last week's show. Or collaborative purchasing arrangements to leverage economies of scale and save money.
Again, back to
what to add.
What left is there to add? Imagine you got together with an association of people in your same trade, and everybody bought, I don't know, paint, nails, 2x4s, all at the same time, but you approached it together as a whole, right? So this isn't necessarily the one where you find your worst enemy and hug them. That never ends well, right? But find other people of your trade in the same space that you're kind of cool with, because you're part of the same association. Maybe you're part of the same board of trade. Maybe you're part of the same business improvement association, and work together with these guys to do like a volume deal, right? And that's actually a good one. Like there's a whole bunch of people in spaces where my clients sit, and we haven't pulled this one yet. So that's a really good one, right? Find others that you're friends with in your space. You may be competitors, but you're still friends, right? And it's not like your shops are down the street from each other and it's like North and South Korea trying to face it off to see who's got the meter face, right?
Yeah.
Like, just because you're, one widget seller in one neighborhood and your buddy's another widget seller in another neighborhood, the both of you can get together and do a dual order, as long as you can, move the inventory back and forth between the spaces. You can negotiate a better rate, right? There's volume breakdowns at certain amounts, right? And so if you're super close to a volume break point, and your buddy also is super close to a volume breakpoint, but neither of you qualify it for it yourselves, hold together.
So get together, form a widget selling cartel.
That's correct. So that's the advice from today from ChatGPT. Make widget selling cartels so you
Form
make
your own cartel.
End up like Scrooge McDuck. That's totally the message we want to.
What do they call that? Trusts, the steel trust, or from the 30s. They weren't cartels then; they were trusts, banking trusts, steel
and
trusts.
Now we just call them syndicates, right? So
yes, well, that's a good one. I like that. All right, so I think that's all the points we have here from Mr. GPT. What does he say for closing arguments? It's important to note that these measures should be implemented while considering the specific needs and circumstances of your business. Well, obviously, conduct a thorough analysis and develop a well thought out plan to ensure you're making the most effective and appropriate cost saving decisions. Yeah, thanks, ChatGPT. Obviously.
Well, sometimes it has to wear the Captain Obvious cape just to prepend it, going, "Hey, by the way, I'm just an AI. Make sure you don't forget to breathe."
Yeah, it's like I cannot offer medical advice. I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Although people are using ChatGPT these days to write legal agreements, and then they have the lawyers review the agreement afterwards, and it's kind of scary. The lawyer's like, "Hey, this is great." And
I heard someone talk about how he's like a lawyer and he's just fired all his staff. He doesn't need anybody to read anything for him anymore. Doesn't need anybody to write legal briefs. Like he's just cut his office down to just him and ChatGPT. That's it. Which is scary.
But then who makes the coffee? I'm kidding. No,
yeah. They have machines for that too, Earl.
There you go.
Right. All right. And then so here's the non-AI part of the show. Hack of the week.
Hack.
Part Earl has to come up from his own noggin.
Alrighty.
Although you had ChatGPT do a hack for you one week, didn't you? I think you asked it for a hack.
I don't think so. I don't remember that. So I usually manually do the hack part, but we gave away one of them already. But on saving money, there's 3 huge ways to save that are rarely talked about. Number one is, and we did talk about this in the previous episode, but I don't highlight it far enough. And then people always go, "Oh, you taught me this 6 months ago," but I totally haven't done it yet. Join a trade and barter network. Join a trade and barter network. There is a billionaire in our town who literally has an entire department based on trade and barter because it saves and makes him so much damn money. So
I think you cut out there for a second. A what company is it?
As I said, there's a billionaire in our town.
Oh, billionaire. Okay, yeah.
There's a billionaire in our town who literally has an entire department on trade and barter. And the trade and barter is intercompany between his multiple companies where they trade stuff, right? And obviously from outsiders. So he will trade stuff to save stuff because when you trade something, right? If it's a proper trade and proper structure, just watch the previous show. I don't remember what episode it was on, but when you watch the previous shows and we talk about the trade and barter networks, you will save so much money. It's crazy. It's only the costs that you're incurring, but you're trading it at fair market value. So you're making the delta, the difference between those two things, which dependent on your margin could be a ridiculous amount of money, right? So there you go.
You're just scraping the edges of my idiocy here and understanding all that, but I think I get what you're saying.
So yeah, trade stuff, make money. There you go. Number 2 is the credit card statements.
You're not suggesting people go on the black market.
No, do not go to the black market. Do not trade your staff for kidneys. That'd be bad. Do not harvest kidneys from your staff. Yeah. Hashtag chat.
Right. I won't harvest my staff.
There you go.
On the black market.
Audit your credit card.
For those listening on audio, I'm winking when I say that, just for the record.
I keep forgetting, right? Yeah, this is the multi faceted way to absorb this content. You can just listen to it. But if you're not watching Dan wink, then he's winking.
I was not serious. All right.
Don't worry, he won't kidnap you and steal your kidneys. Audit your credit card statements and merchant processing providers for easy savings, right? The last time people have checked this stuff was when they started their business, right? There was this one business that was in business for like 35 years. And I just pointed this out to them and they're like, it's been 30 years? We've never done that. So it just slips their mind, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one was have an experienced accounting firm review your taxes from as far back as 10 years ago or whatever your country allows, right? So it's the reverse hack. So usually, this is a weird lesson. I'm a martial artist, and
nice.
when I learned how to use nunchucks, the teacher just gave me this one little piece of nugget. He's like, whatever you learn how to do with nunchucks, make sure you learn how to do it backwards, the other way too. So if you swing the nunchucks one direction, you can swing them the opposite complete direction and still perform the same move in reverse. And you have a brand new move. And if you learn it forwards and backwards, literally this is where people say backwards and forwards, then you learn it deeper at a deeper level. And the original move also gains some experience because you know how to do it forwards and backwards, which is pretty neat. I always thought that was really interesting. So this is the backwards position of, the CRA, the IRS keep ask you to check your stuff and hold your paperwork for 7 years. Well, you can also then recheck, refile, readjust for X number of years based on whatever country you're in, right? So a buddy of mine who's an accountant just looked at 4 or 5 people that I knew, and he was able to find majority of them some extra money that they forgot, right? Like a small $200 error multiplied by 10 years is a $2,000 error, right? So all of a sudden it's no longer a rounding mistake. $2,000 is $2,000. So there you go, which makes a big difference in some people's lives, or it's a good weekend in Vegas if that's what you spend in Vegas.
Perfect. So all right. I think we're all wrapped up.
We are indeed. And it's the top of the hour, so we're perfect there. So
any parting words for the good people who want to swim through? I was just thinking about something. You mentioned the guy debunking this, that Scrooge McDuck could swim through the money.
Yeah.
I got to point out that even in the DuckTales universe,
yes,
he was the only one who could do it. Nobody else could do it. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, other people would try and they'd hit it and they'd get stuck, and they'd have the little birds and the stars around their head.
Yeah, exactly. I remember there was I think the Beagle Gang or whatever one time successfully.
Oh, yeah, the bad guys.
The bad guys. They took over his empire, and they were like all excited to go swimming through his money, and they all bonked their noggins. They got little. They always grow that little
lump.
The lump. Yeah, it's but it's like the hair parts for some reason.
Yeah,
and the lump grows out through the hair, which never has actually happened to me in real life. I've also never encountered quicksand either, which I thought was going to happen a lot based on watching cartoons.
Yeah, no kidding. You should check out Mark Rober's YouTube videos. He adds like sound percussion to like a sand tank or something crazy, and he makes it so that you can basically wade through it and swim through it. But then when it stops, everything sticks, and now you're stuck. So it's actually pretty cool.
No, thank you. Nope, I'm good.
Will that engage the quicksand nightmares?
Yes, exactly. Just raised on quicksand nightmares.
There you go.
Quicksand nightmares. I was gonna say quicksand nightmares. Title of my new album.
There you go. Awesome. All right, let's play us out.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you, Earl, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Dan. Here we go.
So I'm already dancing.
Thanks for listening to Earl and the Idiot. We hope you learned something you can take action on this week. For more information or to contact the show, visit earlandtheidiot.com. And until next time, remember what Shakespeare said. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool.